Welcome to Senior Care Insights. We've got a really interesting deep dive planned for today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
We've got two experts, people who have spent years and years really understanding the health and psychology of folks as they get older.
Older adults, yeah.
And, we're aiming for about 30 minutes, a nice focused conversation, drawing on their experiences to look at some of the key aspects of well-being in later life. So let's just jump right in.
It is fascinating, isn't it, how life sort of circles back. You spend decades nurturing your family, building a career, supporting everybody else. And then there's this natural shift that happens where focusing on yourself becomes not just desirable, but actually pretty essential.
Right. Think about all the roles that seniors have played, the angers of their families, the problem solvers at work, always the givers.
Always giving, yeah.
It's almost like their own well-being got put on hold for years.
On the back burner, yeah.
So this is kind of a time to change that, to turn that focus inward. Let's start with the physical body, the body that's carried us through so much. What does prioritizing self-care actually look like from that physical standpoint?
Well, when you think about it, all those decades of activity, physical demands, and sometimes just the sheer endurance our bodies have shown.
It's incredible.
It really is. And self-care at this stage, it's less about pushing limits and more about just attuned listening to what your body needs.
So true.
For example, instead of just saying, rest when you're tired, we know that even these short, regular rest periods can have a big impact on how well seniors think if they're experiencing, fatigue.
Yeah.
So think about incorporating like mini naps throughout the day rather than trying to push through until bedtime when you're exhausted.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's about nourishing your body, with intention. And engaging in movement that feels good supports your vitality rather than just strenuous activity.
Right. Working with the body, not against it.
Exactly.
Now, mentally, we accumulate so much over the years. Experiences, information, worries.
Oh, yeah, lots of worries.
How do we even begin to prioritize self-care in the mental space?
Well, the mental landscape can get pretty crowded, can it?
It sure can.
Prioritizing self-care up there in the mental space really means cultivating that mental space and being more intentional about what we let occupy it.
That's a good way to put it.
For instance, instead of just saying engage in joyful activities, think about the impact of actually being very focused when you engage.
Okay.
Research shows that learning something new, like a musical instrument or a new language, can build new connections in the brain. It can actually boost what we call cognitive reserve in older adults.
I did not know that.
It's really fascinating. And then it's also about filtering out the negativity.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, is this thought helping me right now? And really redirecting your attention toward things that feel more positive and constructive.
That's a much more proactive way to approach it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Instead of just letting it all happen to us. Now, what about our emotional lives? We've all experienced love, loss, heartbreak, joy, the whole spectrum. How does self-care play into nurturing our hearts?
Well, emotionally, self-care is acknowledging all of those experiences that have shaped us. It's about giving ourselves compassion, especially when we think about past hurts. So instead of just saying protect yourself from draining relationships, think about the power of setting really clear, really kind boundaries.
Boundaries, yes.
Learning to communicate what you need, clearly and calmly without being aggressive or apologetic is a key aspect of taking care of your emotional self. It's creating a safe space where you feel supported from within yourself and from the people around you.
I love that. Boundaries. That word keeps coming up.
It's so important.
It's so important, yeah. And then there's the spiritual aspect, which I know can mean so many different things to so many different people. How does that contribute to self-care in this phase of life?
Yeah, the spiritual side of things, however you define that for yourself. Yeah. It often involves connecting with something bigger than ourselves, finding meaning and purpose.
Right.
So instead of just saying engage in practices like meditation, consider the benefits of, say, mindfulness in reducing stress, feeling more present. Studies have actually shown that spending time in nature can lower stress hormones, improve mood in older adults.
Oh, interesting.
So it's about really identifying what brings you peace, what nourishes your spirit, and then making time for those things, whether it's quiet reflection, creative expression, or connecting with people who share your values, finding your community.
So actively seeking out what really truly nourishes us on that deeper level.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned boundaries before, and I think for somebody who has spent years and years as a caregiver, Setting those boundaries can feel almost impossible,
Yes.
even selfish. What's your
Uh-huh.
perspective on that?
Well, I think that feeling of guilt is very understandable. But it's crucial to reframe boundaries as not selfish, but as self-preservation. Think of it this way. If you're constantly depleted, you're not going to be able to care for anyone effectively, including yourself.
That's a good point.
Setting boundaries allows you to refill your cup, your energy, your time, your emotional capacity. It's about recognizing that saying no to one thing can often mean saying yes to your own well-being.
That is powerful.
And it's about understanding that your worth is not tied to how exhausted you are or how constantly available you are to other people. Rest isn't a reward that you earn. It's fundamental. It's like food or water.
It's a requirement.
Exactly.
And happiness itself, I mean, sometimes it can feel like this thing we're chasing,
Yeah.
always just out of reach.
Yeah.
How does that relate to self-care?
Chasing this big external happiness can be so misleading. Contentment, real contentment, is often about cultivating joy in the everyday moments.
I like that.
It's about shifting your focus to appreciating the small things.
Okay, yeah.
A warm breeze, a good laugh, a moment of beauty. Positive psychology research tells us that really savoring these little everyday experiences is key.
Yeah.
It's less about reaching some future state of bliss and more about actively recognizing the good that's already here.
It's a shift, isn't it?
Yeah.
From chasing to appreciating. And it seems like as we age, so many people find that inner peace becomes much more valuable than external achievements.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that is?
Because inner peace offers a stability and resilience that external things, which come and go, just can't provide.
Right.
It's like an internal compass, guiding you through all of life's ups and downs. When you're cultivating inner peace, you don't react as strongly to stressors. You're more able to navigate challenges calmly and with a clear head. It becomes a real source of strength and contentment that doesn't depend on what's happening around you.
And that inner peace, it's not about controlling everything around us, which we can't do anyway.
Right. Trying to control every little thing is a recipe for stress. Inner peace comes from accepting what we can't change and then focusing our energy on the things we can influence. Our own thoughts, our own actions, our responses.
Right.
It's letting go of the need for certainty and trusting that life will unfold as it should.
I love that idea of surrender.
Yeah.
You mentioned silence earlier as a tool for protecting our inner peace. Can you talk more about that?
Oh, absolutely. In our world, which is so noisy, both externally and internally, with all the information and stimulation,
Constantly.
intentional silence becomes the sanctuary. It's an opportunity to step away from all the demands on your attention, quiet your mind, and reconnect with yourself.
Like a reset.
Yeah. Even short periods of silence each day can reduce stress hormones, improve focus. It's about choosing where you put your energy and recognizing that not everything needs your reaction.
Being more selective.
Yeah.
What about forgiveness? We
Yeah.
hear that a lot in the context of inner peace.
Forgiveness is absolutely key to inner peace. And it's so important to understand that it benefits you, first and foremost.
Not the other person.
Well, them too, potentially. But holding on to resentment is like carrying around a heavy weight. It drags you down. Forgiveness is about putting that weight down. It doesn't mean you condone what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the negative impact it's having on you right now.
So it's an act of self-liberation.
Exactly. You choose your well-being over holding on to past hurts.
Sometimes, people feel like they need an apology to be able to move on.
I understand that. But your healing shouldn't depend on someone else apologizing.
Mhm.
True release comes from inside you. You have the power to let go of that need for external validation or closure and find peace within yourself, regardless of what other people do.
That's powerful. Even our memories, though, sometimes they can keep us trapped in the past.
Memories can be tricky. They're selective and they're influenced by our current emotions. It's important to remember that your past experiences don't define who you are today.
We change so much.
We do. You've evolved, you've learned. Acknowledge your past, but don't let it control your future.
So holding on really does limit our possibilities moving forward.
100%. If you're constantly looking in the rearview mirror, you can't see what's ahead of you. Letting go is an act of self-respect. It's a declaration that you deserve to live fully in the present and embrace the future with open arms.
That's a beautiful way to think about it.
Right.
Now, let's talk about protecting our personal energy. It feels like that's becoming more and more important as we navigate life.
It is. Your energy is a limited resource, and being mindful of how you use it is crucial for well-being. It's about being intentional with your focus, your emotions, your efforts, and directing them toward things that truly matter.
It's so easy to get caught up in things that drain us. worries, conflicts, other people's drama.
Oh, I know. Not everything requires your involvement. Not every opinion needs a response. Not every worry deserves hours of your time.
True.
Learning to figure out what actually needs your energy is a vital skill.
I agree.
It's about taking a step back, looking at the situation, and then choosing where you want to invest yourself.
Being more selective about where we direct our time and attention.
Exactly.
And I imagine that extends to our interactions with others, too.
Of course, kindness and empathy are important. But there's a difference between being supportive and being constantly available or taking on other people's baggage.
That's a good distinction.
Prioritizing your own needs, setting boundaries, that's essential for protecting your energy.
Sometimes disengaging is the most energy-conserving option.
You're absolutely right. Knowing when to step away from an unproductive conflict or even a relationship that's consistently draining, that's a sign of self-awareness.
It is.
Your energy is better spent on activities and people that lift you up.
What about emotional energy?
Hmm.
Because that feels like it can be depleted so quickly.
Our emotional energy is deeply tied to what we're thinking and believing.
Okay.
Cultivating a more positive internal dialogue, focusing on things like hope and gratitude, that can be so energizing.
Can.
And the opposite is true too. Dwelling on negativity and past hurts that can really drain you. So being mindful of your emotional landscape, choosing to focus on the positive, that's key.
So we have to manage our internal environment as well as the external one.
Absolutely.
The people we surround ourselves with, they have a huge impact on our energy levels.
Huge. Some people leave you feeling inspired, energized. Others, you're just wiped out.
Yeah, it's true.
So paying attention to those energetic exchanges and choosing to be around people who lift you up, that's self-care.
Creating that protective field around ourselves.
Exactly. And being intentional with your energy is an act of self-respect. It allows you to be more present, more effective, and more joyful in everything you do.
That's such a valuable insight. Let's move on to the power of example and how inner peace plays into that, especially as we interact with others.
You know, actions often speak louder than words. When you live with integrity, embodying your values in your everyday life, it's a very powerful form of communication. You can try to convince people with explanations, but your actions will have a far greater impact.
Living our truth, not just talking about it.
Exactly. And not everyone's going to understand your choices, and that's okay. Your focus should be on living authentically, in line with your values, not on seeking approval or changing other people's minds. Sometimes choosing silence over an unproductive debate is a powerful example of inner peace.
There's wisdom in knowing when not to engage.
Absolutely. Some lessons are learned through observation and experience, not explanation. When you consistently demonstrate your values through what you do, you inspire and influence others in ways that words simply can't.
And as we cultivate that inner peace, it seems like the need for external approval lessens.
It does. When you're rooted in inner peace and self-acceptance, the opinions of others don't hold as much weight. Leading by example means being so secure in your own values that you don't need constant validation.
Our behavior also influences those around us, especially our loved ones.
Of course. Family and friends often learn more from how you live, how you handle challenges, how you treat yourself and others, than they do from anything you say. Consistency in embodying your values, that sets a powerful example.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. And true strength lies in that quiet inner resilience. It's not about outward displays of power. It's about that inner steadiness and grace. Maintaining a sense of calm and conviction, even when things are tough. The most influential people often embody their greatness quietly, without needing fanfare. Living authentically with inner peace, that creates a lasting and meaningful impact.
That's a really profound thought. Finally, let's talk about embracing the present journey. As we navigate our later years, how does our perspective on life shift?
It shifts a lot. Life is not a race to the finish line. It's a journey to savor every step of the way. There's a tendency to get stuck dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. But real fulfillment, it lies in the present. We have to choose joy in the everyday experiences, not just wait for those big milestones.
Appreciating the here and now.
Yes. And when you take time to reflect, you realize how much you've already navigated.
It's incredible.
It is. Reflecting on those challenges you've overcome, the resilience you've shown, it can be incredibly empowering. It's about acknowledging and celebrating how far you've come.
And gratitude for our journey, with all its ups and downs.
Absolutely. Being grateful for the lessons learned, the experiences gained, it helps us to appreciate what we have right now. The fact that we are here experiencing this day, That's something to be grateful for.
Embracing the aging process itself with all the wisdom that it brings, that's part of it too.
Yes, embracing age and recognizing the beauty and wisdom that comes with it is so important. Every stage of life has its own value. It's about finding joy in the imperfection, letting go of the need for everything to be perfect.
And our relationships, connecting with loved ones, they become even more precious.
They do. Celebrating life means celebrating those connections, nurturing meaningful relationships, creating shared experiences that enriches your journey so much.
Sometimes it's about stepping outside of our routine, fully engaging with life.
Exactly. Don't let the familiar become invisible. Try new things, experience each day fully, and you'll feel a renewed sense of vitality and joy. Ultimately, each person's journey is unique, and it should be embraced and celebrated without comparison.
These have been such valuable insights into prioritizing self-care, releasing the past, protecting our energy, leading by example, and embracing the present journey. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
It has been so insightful, and as we've discussed, these aspects are all interconnected.
They are.
They all contribute to a greater sense of well-being in our lives. If you found this conversation valuable, please take a moment to like this video. Sharing it could be helpful for others too. And we'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. What resonated most with you?
Yes, let us know.
And please subscribe to the Senior Care Insights channel to stay informed about future discussions and content focused on senior health and well-being. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to our next deep dive with you.
See you next time.